shows many adults carry trauma into their relationships. Studies estimate up to 70% of adults have experienced at least one traumatic event. Trauma doesn't always leave visible scars. It shapes how we love, trust, and connect. At Team 2, we bring these stories into the light. Through open conversations, we explore the roots of pain and the path toward renewal. Every story deserves healing. Every heart deserves peace. Join us in rebuilding hope, because healing begins with two.
Hi, this is Harrison, and this is my wife, Kathleen.
Nice to be here again.
And thank you for joining us today. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for all our viewers who views our show and, have sent us some emails and really encouraging us, and also sending your questions and all of that. We really do appreciate it very much in terms of what we're doing and what we can do to help you out as a couple or even as an individual who is preparing for a relationship. Well, today we have got a good show for you. It's entitled Love on the Brain. How do we love on the brain? How do we love the brain?
It's a very interesting question. Maybe you can explain it.
Well, to me, love on the brain is understanding that the whole functionality of an individual or couple stems from the brain, our beliefs, what we think, how we were raised. There's so many things we can put on the table in terms of why we need to learn how to love the brain, how to be able to understand the brain.
I remember talking to a young couple years ago, and she said to me, she was so excited, she's getting married. She says, I'm going to live on love. But I don't know how you can quite live on love. Do you?
Well, I think live on love could also mean that the ultimate goal is to build it up and understand that love is something that stems from the heart, but it goes through the mind in terms of what we're thinking, affects how our heart functions.
That's true. I mean, it's all part of the connection, your conduct, from your mind. That's how love works as well. It's not just the feelings that you have, but it's the connections that you make, right? Through the mind.
Well, if you think about it, in reality, there is no perfect relationship. We have been married for 36 years this year and raised 7 amazing children. And we have had our struggles. And I think probably the last 4 or 5 years, we came to a point in life where we had to love on the brain. We had to come to the point of understanding that we are 2 different people.
Right, because when you think of love in the heart, it has a lot to do with your feelings, how you feel, but love on the brain is more, what can we do to keep that love going? How do we keep that connection going?
Yeah. So, we deal with a lot of couples in our practice, helping them from the neuroscience side, the psychological side, in terms of understanding yourself and understanding your spouse, understanding your partner, understanding the people around you, your children, that the way how you think, the way how you process information doesn't mean it's the only way, and everybody else needs to be subjective to how you think or how you process your information. In marriage and in relationship, it's a 2-way stream. It's not a one-way. It's not meeting someone and in hope that they're going to just fall in track with you and then follow you in the destiny that you have ahead of you. In relationship, it's about merging 2 lives together, where you compromise and you complement each other, reaching towards the same goal, right?
Right. So it's finding those connections between the 2 of you, because it's not just me, myself, and I. Now it's we and us together. So you have to find those connections. And sometimes it's not just the feeling part of it, it's the doing part of it as well, which
Absolutely.
is part of the brain, right? The doing.
The doing. So, when I think about when couples come for therapy as an example, and you look at what is the core reason, what is the cause in terms of having conflict in the home or lack of communication or trust is broken, there's always a reason, there's always a cause. No one just wakes up in the morning and says, you know what, I'm going to be angry and upset at my spouse and teach them a lesson. Does that happen?
I don't think you just wake up thinking that, no.
It grows because of what's going on in the mind.
Right.
Thoughts that's coming into the mind. And the interesting thing about the brain is the brain cannot differentiate truths from lies. So you may be at work or you may be watching a show, the Hallmark movies,
Not my
and
favorite.
start to develop in your mind, this is what love is all about, and it's not in my relationship, and as a result I need to fix it. And you start putting pressure on the relationship, only to realize that it's not working. What you see in the movie is not working. What your friends are telling you is not working. The nice love story that you read, it's not happening in your relationship. So trying to fix it sometimes may not be the right approach, because you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself versus learning how to come up with some commonalities where you and your spouse can start working together to achieve what you want to see in the relationship.
Right. And I think that's the common word here is together, working out on together, because what you might think might be different than what your spouse thinks. So you might be thinking, well, he knows what I'm thinking, right?
Right.
Instead of talking about it and coming with it together. And I think that's a common misunderstanding. He should know how I feel. He should know that I want this, or she should know this. We've done this before. She should know this. And that's where the communication breakdown comes in, because we're making assumptions.
Making assumptions. And a lot of couples that are struggling, because they have not come to terms to accept that there's a difference, that every human being is different. We are made up differently. The way how you were raised in your home was different. The environment, the culture. Maybe some of us have a different religious background before we come into the Christian faith per se. So we all have so much differences. So when we think of love in the brain, I'm thinking about, how do we rewire the brain? How do we get the brain to work for us rather than against us? It's easier for us to think negative. It's easier for us to go down that rabbit hole. And as easy as it is to start thinking bad about your spouse, or, like in terms of looking at the one wrong thing that's being done versus the 99 good things, we can switch the brain to start looking at the 99 good things versus the wrong thing.
That's right. And that we can do that, right?
We can do that. So rewiring the brain, like in terms of like loving on the brain, or love on the brain, is really understanding that the brain functions a lot on emotions. The brain functions a lot on picking up information from people around you in your environment, in terms of how you the information that was fed in the brain as a young person, growing up between the age of 0 to 12. Your brain is like a sponge, and you pick up everything. You pick up things from your parents, you pick up things from your school, from the teachers, you pick up things from people that you trust, because there's the pure mind, like a brand new computer, and suddenly you start to put these softwares inside of there. Unfortunately, a lot of times some of these softwares carry viruses, like addictions and like behaviors and like temper tantrums, or having attitude, or creating anger issues. All of those to me are like viruses that come into your mind. And then, from about 12, 13 till about 17, that's when most of us try to push ourselves in understanding who we are, and we start creating boundaries for ourselves. We start looking at what is the likes and dislikes. And unfortunately, that age group is where a lot of people get abused emotionally, sexually, physically. They start seeing a lot of things from their own parents during that time, or the loved one, or the caregivers. And the brain is fed with this kind of, is being wired that this is maybe the normal of life. And then 17 to 21 is typically the age where the brain is under a lot of pressure, where you're trying to figure out yourself, figuring relationship, your career path, trying to figure out, what do you want for your life? And that's the time, I believe, as a Christian, the enemy comes in and try to get us to think like we know it all. And basically we start to make decisions that are poor decisions. For some of us, getting into drugs and alcohol and pornography and all the unhealthy things that comes about. But then around 21, 22 to 27 is typically when it's like you're trying to figure out yourself. You're starting to see the flaws and the mistakes and starting to see all the things that is beneficial to you or not beneficial. But unfortunately, because the brain now has been, there's a pathway in the brain that now creates addictions, and it creates this cravings of what has flood the brain, perhaps with dopamines or oxytocin, all these different neurotransmitters. Now, between those particular age bracket, you want to put you get addicted to it. Get addicted to the alcohol or the drugs or the porn or sexual promiscuity or all these different things, and then you find a relationship. Then what you do when you find that relationship?
That's the question.
All hell can break loose. Because now you meet someone who may not be in the same mindset like you and how your brain has been wired, and you expect that person now to be able to understand you and accept you. And sometimes we may play the victim card where we're always a victim, or we look at ourselves where we're perfect and there's absolutely nothing wrong with me. Everything else is wrong with everybody else. So your normal typically can become abnormal of other people. So when you think of love on the brain, you can see how so much problems can occur with how we think and how the brain has been wired. What do you think about that?
That was a lot. That was a lot you said about the brain and everything that's going on. Can you imagine entering into a relationship now and you've had all these experiences, all these things, all these conflicts, maybe different attachments have come in your life, and now you have to add this new attachment who becomes more important than all the other ones that you've ever had, but now you have to work together.
Yeah, and you know, that particular bracket of age, it leads to the first transitional age, I call it, which will be 27 to 33, and then 37 to 43, 47 to 53, 57 to 63, etc. I call them transitional age because that's when I see the brain starts to carry these regrets in terms of what has been done or has not been done in that period of time. So imagine like 21, 22 to 27, and then about 33, 34 till about 37, that time period, you want to make the best out of life. But if the brain has been wired on a negative way and is creating havoc in a relationship where there's conflict all the time, maybe there's a lack of safety issues, there's emotional issues, there is lack of communication, the way how you see things versus your partner, your spouse sees things, all of those things start to become problematic in a relationship. So I want you to hold on to your thoughts for a minute because we are going to take a short commercial break and we're going to be right back with this topic. If you have any questions and you want to connect with us, our email is at the bottom. There's phone numbers as well. You can visit our website to get more information about who we are. If you're watching us for the first time, and we are here for you. We want to be able to bless you. We want to be able to be an encouragement to you. So don't hesitate to reach out and let's see what we can do in your relationship. So let's take a short commercial break.
At Team 2, we believe in the power of connection. Because 2 is always better than 1. Through therapy, workshops, and retreat, Team 2 gives couples the tools to heal, grow, and build lasting love. Join us in saving relationships, strengthening families, and restoring hope. Donate today, because love is worth fighting for.
Welcome back. You know, as you heard about the commercial with Team 2, Kathleen and I, we started this non-for-profit to help couples who are unable to provide, who don't have the funds for therapy and their marriage is falling apart. They may have a family, and we really are depending on our viewers or anyone who may be able to help support Team 2, because the goal is to be able to provide therapy for them, as well as take them on retreats, help enrich their marriage, help to build them back up, because we know, working in this field for like over 20 years, that it's not an easy task when couples start fighting with each other. There's so much conflict that occur, and we're living in a time where we are looking for the easy way out. So divorce and separation has risen so high. Children pays the consequences as a result of issues are not being resolved. And honestly, if the problems in your relationship is not being addressed, it's going to be carried on to our next relationship, and it's never going to be addressed. Because as I said, the moment you think that you're right and your normal becomes abnormal to other people, there's a big problem there. It means that you don't see that there's any change that needs to take place in your life, but everybody else around you needs change. And we see that all the time with couples.
Yeah. And we're talking about all the different things that happen. Well, what are some things that we can do to help all this going on in the brain? Well, one of the main things is healthy communication. And one reason that healthy communication is so important, because it helps calm us. It helps calm our nervous system and also rebuild trust. Because if we don't understand what each other's going through, if we don't talk about it, we're not going to be able to build upon that and calm ourselves, right? Instead of arguing and getting upset or maybe even being fearful or not trusting, when we have healthy communication, then we can really build upon that.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I must say is when I look at today why couples are fighting and why they find it so difficult to build trust in the relationship, again, it stems from how the brain is wired. That's why we're really focusing on love on the brain. I think it's so important that you understand that instead of judging a person and start looking at the flaws and weaknesses, start looking at where did it all stem from? Why is this behavior so prominent in the relationship? Where it's coming from? Why is my husband or my wife so short with me? Why are they not affectionate with me? Why is intimacy so poor in my relationship? Why are these behaviors there? Why are there addictions in the relationship? What is the root cause of it? So instead of looking at the person, we need to look at the issues that are coming through the person and start finding resolutions together.
That's right. And I think that's why it's so important to do that, because of how all this is connected to our body. Like it said, it affects the nervous system. So when we talk about it, when we look behind the person and look behind what's really causing that, not looking at the person as the issue, then it can help us feel better. It calms us down. And then we can also have better conversations when we're starting to understand each other.
Yeah.
Instead of yelling and getting upset and really wreaking havoc on our body, because our body pays the price sometimes from the arguments and the things that we go through in our relationship. We want to have a healthy body as well as a healthy communication, right?
And that's a whole another topic in terms of what stress can do when the cortisol level is high, causing a lot of medical issues and all of that. But when I look at couples today and dealing with a lot of the problems in relationship, and you wonder why communication is so poor, and like I'll say to you, some of the couples who are watching us, if there's infidelity present in your marriage, it's not the end of the world. If you found out your wife or your husband is addicted to pornography or alcohol or drugs, it's not the end of the world. If you found out that there are a lot of baggages that your spouse is bringing into the relationship, it's not the end of the world. That's why Loving on the Brain is looking to work through the process and start removing these baggages that has come in the way. Yeah, there are maybe a man or a woman who don't see the need for help, and perhaps they have gotten help and they relapse again. The thing is, when the brain is affected, it's not so easy to just pass a magic wand and make it all go away. It is a lot of work, and I found that a lot of moral support in relationship and being transparent with one another really helps to heal the brain from brokenness and from all the things that is creating the negative impact in a relationship.
That's right. And many times when we are realizing that we're fighting each other. It's we have to think about as not fighting each other, fighting the things that you're going through, the experiences. A lot of times it's things in the past that we haven't dealt with. So when you start creating more healthy communication, then you can deal with those things in the past. So you're not no longer fighting about those things, right? And then you can deal with everyday situations because we have enough of those, right? But some people are still stuck in the past that they can't get past that. And that's not healthy.
No, it's not healthy. And I think, one of the things I've been learning is that the reason why couples are stuck is because they don't want to move ahead. They don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? They have been going through so much marital problems. They have been fighting with each other, not understanding the concept of what's going on with a person's mind. I mean, what happens if your wife or husband is struggling with personality disorders or anxiety or depression or life stresses in general relating to work or confidence level, something so, lack of confidence, or maybe a very passive individual who becomes like a doormat for everybody else, where they allow the kindness of the heart to work against them instead of for them. And you realize that something is wrong here. I want my husband or my wife to be my hero. I want them to be my champion. I want them to cheer me on, and it's not happening. And you say, well, maybe I can find somebody else who can do that. And then suddenly you start drifting away because your mind is now leading you in a very different direction. What do you do at that point?
Yeah, I think that's why it's so important when you're talking about love in the mind. I think one of the things that's always helped me the most is I love my husband. I love this man, but I don't always love his behaviors. I don't always love the words that might come out of his mouth. Or
do I have bad behaviors?
We all have something. There's no perfect
what kind of
relationship.
Words come out of my mouth? That is so terrible.
There might be something that you said that might have hurt me, or said something that wasn't pleasant or kind. And what we have to look past the words and sometimes look at or where it's coming from. Or maybe you said, like, maybe there's lack of intimacy or lack of different things. Where is it coming from? But don't not love the person. And that's where love in the brain comes, because that's when you're activating the brain to do something about the situation and not just feel through it, but you're doing something about it.
Yeah. And the reality is you cannot, in your brain, if you expect perfectionism to take place, where your spouse needs to be this perfect person, and almost like they are a mirror image of who you are with the expectations you're setting for yourself, I'm telling you, you're going to fall on your face, because nobody can fit your shoes except in you. That's how God designed us. We are individual people. We are not copies of one another. But with that being said, we're going to take another short commercial. We're going to be right back. Grab a glass of water and just continue watching our show. Appreciate it.
Love is a journey, not a destination, but a discovery. At Team 2, we walk with you every step, guiding love forward. Here, every story matters, and every step forward brings light to love. Because stronger connection is the heart of every lasting relationship. Connect with Team 2 today, because 2 is better than 1.
Welcome back. That's a great commercial. 2 is better than 1, and that's what we want to be able to see through this show. We're trying to have one every week so that we can get our viewers to understand that 2 is better than 1. The Bible says 2 shall become 1, but that doesn't mean it just happens automatic. You have 2 character, 2 personality blending together. You have the way how you are wired in the picture. Your character is in the picture. Your likes and dislikes in the picture. You think about how you were raised is in the picture. Some of you may have raised in a Christian home. Some of you may not have been in a Christian home. Some of you probably were raised where money was never an issue. And then some of you were raised where money is an issue, and you bring that all into the picture. Some of you have probably been raised in foster care. Some of you have probably been raised with caregivers and not your parents, and then you have all of this in a mess in the relationship that comes up. Because when you meet someone, typically we put on the best show, we put on our best face, we try to be on our proper behavior, and then the moment we get engaged or married, then the cycle starts, and we start seeing all the underlying things that have been hidden in our mind starts to pop up like pimples.
Mhm.
And it's like, what do you do? Like, did I marry a monster here? Like, this is not what I was expecting when I got married. Right?
Yeah. I mean, it can be a little bit overwhelming, but there's so many things, but let's talk about some solutions. What are some things that we can do? I think when you're addressing a spouse that's been going through past hurts and that, we have to talk about healing. We have to talk about connection. Sometimes we connect with the wrong people that bring out the worst in us.
Mhm.
And we need to acknowledge that to each other and encourage each other, not put our finger down on that, but just say, what is this the best connection for you? What can we do to surround ourselves with people that are more of a positive influence, or people that can build us up, not tear us down?
Right.
Let's see what we can do, what kind of connections we can build around us to make our relationship more healthy. I think those are important conversations to have. Or healing. Where can we get healing in this situation? Can we pray together? Can we go to something that will help both of us? I mean, you can't just address the one person that's dealing with it. It becomes both of you, because you're going through that experience together. So they have to recognize and see that you are both in it together. You're both working together, and you're not just putting your finger on one person saying you need to change, but let's go through this journey together. What can we do together to help make this work, or to bring healing to it?
And as we wrap up today, one food for thought is that a healthy relationship is not a perfect relationship.
Mhm.
A healthy relationship is a relationship about growth. How can you grow your relationship rather than trying to make it a perfect relationship? To me, a healthy relationship is coming to terms that there are certain things you just cannot change in a person, and you have to be okay with it. You have to look at all the pros in terms of the advantage of being with that person, all the kindness, all the things that they work together with. Look at as to why you fell in love with this individual, and grow the relationship on the things that matters most rather than the things that does not matter. Don't be influenced by the things of the world. You got to be influenced by God. When God put you in a journey together with your spouse, it's a journey to fulfill your destiny, and they're your helper to bring that to reality. So hope you enjoy our show today. We're looking forward to seeing you next week. God bless you, and we will continue to pray for you.
Yes.
Sending those prayer requests, we're here for you. Bye for now.
Bye.
Sometimes love isn't loud. It's showing up when you're tired, caring when your heart feels empty. Compassion fatigue is real. Even the strongest hearts can run dry. At Team 2, we help couples find balance again, to rest, to breathe, to reconnect. Because love isn't about being perfect. It's about healing together. Even love needs rest, a pause to remember why we began. At Team 2, we create space for restoration, where love can breathe again and hearts can refill with hope. When love feels heavy, let's